Hello and welcome to my knife channel. Well, once again, I've been shopping, and these two knives are the ones I got in. This is the Brown Stag Bone Jumbo Trapper, and this is brown. I think they call it Sawcut bone. I'll have to put it in there in the caption, but this is a large toothpick. This guy, the main reason I wanted to get this guy is because of this Wharncliffe blade, this nice Wharncliffe blade. One of the first things you're going to notice when you get this knife is it is big. It's also heavy, not super heavy, but pretty heavy. Like buck 110 type of heavy. This guy's factor in here. 6.53 ounces, or get back to grams here. 185.11 grams. 185 grams, basically. Yeah, so that's significant weight there. Sorry, let me get back to ounces. 6.5 ounces. The large toothpick here is only 2.7 ounces, or it was just the second one. I don't know why I had to jump over that. 121, or is that 12 point? Sorry, I gotta get my head in there. Well, that's grains. No wonder. Grains are a weight used mostly for measuring powder, like gunpowder. Grams is what this is. So we got 78.65 grams, or next one should be ounces. 2.77 ounces. All right. This is a little, alright, Wharncliffe. This thing it unzeroed itself somehow. I'll turn you back on and off. I could just do a tear or something like that, straighten it out, but I'll let it go out like this. Alright. So we got 1.78 ounces. And this is the little single-bladed pipe doctor. It's 1.47 ounces. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the weight on this is because, like I said, this guy is substantial. I mean, you feel it. It's got a nice little lanyard loop in there. It's going to take up most of your pocket, but what I really like is this Wharncliffe blade. It's very nice Wharncliffe blade. This is its its cousin, basically, Wharncliffe. And when you measure the thickness, I'm going to do this in millimeters. When you measure the thickness of the blade stock right here on this big one, this big Wharncliffe, you get about like 3.2 millimeter. Let me make sure I get it in there. Yeah, 2.64 millimeter. And you measure the blade stock on this one, and you get a 2.16 millimeter. So you would think, which one of these would be thinner behind the edge? Which one's going to cut better? It actually turns out to be the bigger one is thinner behind the edge. Behind the edge measurement is basically where your bevel stops on your cut. So we're getting a 0.31 millimeter behind the edge on the little one. And we're getting a 0.22 And it's just simple physics, basically. Let me get this guy to 0 back up. So, let's say the bottom of my hand is the edge, and the top is the stock thickness of your knife. So, if you've got a really wide stock thickness, then usually your edge would be fairly narrow, but it's the distance between here and here, the width of the blade, that determines. Now this is a flat grind, so it starts here and it goes all the way up to the top of this wedge. Same with this one. You can see the width of the blade is smaller. So what they're trying to do is, if they've got the same angle cut, and this one is got all the way up there to get it, he can go like this. But if you, the closer you get up, the more the thickness. This is behind the edge, not the point of the blade. It's going to start widening up like that. See that? The shorter distance, let's say this point right here, is what you want to meet. If your blade stock, blade width is only this far, doesn't matter how thick it is, it's gonna be wide pretty quick. And if you can let it get longer, it'll taper out and it'll be basically thinner behind the edge. What that all means is how it's going to cut through paper and material like this. The thinner the edges, the less it has to push the material away, and it'll actually cut better. I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, like, you would think, just looking at it, that this one, being a smaller, lighter weight blade, thinner blade stock, and everything, would be thinner behind the edge. But because they're both ground the same way, flat ground, and you've only got I'm trying to get the thickness of the blade right here, 0.83. Measures the same place on this one, and you've got 15. So you basically have got twice the distance that you can go to keep the stock behind the edge thinner. So I just thought I'd throw that one in there. Also, the other advantage to this particular knife is, the advantage of a Wharncliffe is it's a nice straight blade. You can do some nice flat cuts, but occasionally you want to do some sweeping cuts. And you can see, you basically go to the point and then that's it. You're done with it. But with this particular jumbo stockman, it's got a recurve, a slight recurve on this upswept blade. It's almost a straight type of blade, but the blade drops down where this wedge is at. It's almost like the metal was pushed down, you know, the effect. It wasn't actually done that way, it's just how it was ground. So what you have now is you have a blade that can do a sweeping cut, a curving cut. So you've got two very nice blades in the same thing, in the same knife package. Now I'm going to switch over to inches just to give you like the overall cutting edge of this one. Now because it's a recurve, you're actually going to have more cutting edge because you would have to take into account the curve. But we basically got a 3-point. Let me get the whole blade length up to the hilt here, up to the bolster. It's basically a 4-inch blade, and I believe the main one is the same way. Yeah, pretty much a 4-inch blade. So anyway, you're paying more for weight in this one, you know, and carrying it. And I mean, if you're carrying it in your pocket, it's going to be heavy. That's no real big deal, but you can definitely do a lot of heavy work, it feels like, with this one. I haven't used it yet, but you can just tell from the weight, the thickness of the blade, and the way it's made, sorry, bouncing that it's going to be a pretty good knife. I like this guy also, the Sawcut bone. They did the texture real well on this. The bolsters, one thing I noticed, there's a slight imperfection there. Let me zoom this up. there's a slight imperfection there. There's kind of a matching slight imperfection on the other side. But everything else about this is done really well. The mainspring, the back spring sticks up a little proud. Not by much. It looks like on most of these, the way they ground these was with the blade open. Because when the blade's open, they're always flush. They're usually flush over here. But when the blade is closed on a lot of the Rough Riders, it'll stick up just a little bit. If you sanded this down a little bit, you could eliminate that. But then you would have, when the blade is open, this would be recessed a little bit. And this is where you're putting your thumb a lot of times, you know. So you're putting your thumb there and your finger up there. And if it's recessed too much, I don't know if it'd make any difference, you know. But anyways, overall, it's very well done. This one is a $13 knife. This one is a $17 knife. Like I said, a nice lanyard hole. You have to clean these up a little bit. I just left it the way I found it, but sometimes there's a little bit of rouge. Also, when I open this guy up, let me zoom him back out for a second. When I opened it up the first time, I went, oh, I don't know about this, because the blade just, you really didn't kind of feel the half stop. It just kind of mushed past it. And then this just, it's still kind of doing this a little bit. It's kind of mushing, you know, just not real. But that's not real snappy, but that's just because they leave a lot of grease and stuff in these. If you clean them up, or if you just start using them, just from opening it a couple of times, it's starting to get a snap to it now. I mean, so you can just wear past that grease, but it has a nice walk and talk, not a heavy pull. I would rate it probably like a 4. Like I said, for my scale, 1 would be the blade just like falls out with shaking, you know, 0 or a 1, and 5 would be more like medium, and then 10 would be breaks your fingernail. So this one is like, it's good. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, basically. It's my scale of rating it. But overall, this one was also done very well. I don't see any major imperfections or anything in it. It has a slant R bolsters in it. Like I said, it's got a little lanyard loop. I've seen those lanyard loop on a hawkbill. There's some gunk inside there still. But the brown, they call it brown stag bone, but of course it's just cow bone that's been ground, jigged basically to make it look like a bone or a horn or something like that, you know. But in reality, it's done very well. Like I said, it looks great, and like I said, for a $17 knife, you can't go wrong with this. This is a lot of knife for the money. I'd highly recommend it. The main thing I bought it for was the worn clip blade, and I am not disappointed with that blade. I mean, that is really great. I love that blade. My fingernails, my fingers getting gunk all over it, but yeah, I'm really happy with these 2 knives that I got in, and I just wanted to show you that, you know, because you look at knives a lot of times and you're getting the same amount of cutting edge on a little tiny knife as you are on a bigger knife, you know. A lot of times, like, this is not much more cutting edge than the one up here. It's only got like maybe a ½ inch more or an inch more of cutting edge, but it's got substantially more weight and everything. Well, it depends on what you expect to cut. This is like you're going to go out and you're going to encounter anything you would want a pocket knife to encounter, basically, you know. You're not going to have a problem with the blade being too thin or too big of an issue, but because it's so heavy, it might not even be in your pocket. It might be on a belt or something like that, or in a toolbox. This will be in your pocket, and it'll be with you. So there you go. Just thought I'd show you a couple of those, and have a nice day.